don't be afraid to fail, or not everything has to be perfect. So much stuff has changed since we started this thing. So you just got to move forward. Ben says it all the time. Just, take one step forward every day. Sometimes the most stress comes from just not taking any action. So be willing to take action.
Welcome to the Cash Flow Fight Club podcast. In the Champions Corner edition, I'm Mike Deaton, and together with Lydia, my co-host in life, business, and this podcast, we're taking you into the training room, deep in the dojo, sharing the secrets of what it takes to forge a champion. We're digging deep into mindset mastery, high-performance habits, best-in-class behaviors, and bringing you the tips and techniques that maximize human potential, brought to you from some of the best in the business.
So grab your buds and your seat. Hit subscribe and get ready to up your game. Let's do the show.
Let's do it. Today, we have a couple of pretty boys with us in the Champions Corner, Ben Faze and Kevin Niehoff. These two college besties discovered that they and so many other young men suffered from skin issues such as acne and eczema. From their personal experiences, the only solutions they could find to help were both expensive and overly complicated, which only resulted in a very low take rate. Seeing a problem without a good solution, they decided to seize it as an opportunity. After doggedly working to find that solution, PrettyBoy, simple skincare for men, was born. In this inspirational episode with Ben and Kevin, we discuss what inspired them to tackle this problem, how they went about getting started, the process of defining their market, what went into creating a skincare product, how to leverage the talents of others to launch a business, and how they're ramping up PrettyBoy into $1 million plus enterprise. This episode is filled with inspirational insights and practical advice on how to innovate, create, and implement a vision. Let's jump into the Champions Corner with Kevin and Ben.
All right. We'd like to welcome Kevin Niehoff and Ben Faze to the podcast today. Thanks for jumping on the call with us, and we look forward to hearing your story, guys.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having us. We're stoked.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet. So we were thinking today, what would be great is just if you could give us a quick intro on kind of what brought you to your concept level, and then we can jump into the ins and outs of how you went about creating a product and getting it to market and all that. But maybe Kevin, you could start off and just give us a little bit of a background on you guys and how you came to be together and all that.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. And I'd say we're first-time founders, so we're still learning. So, I mean, I don't think that ever stops, but we're learning a ton every day. Quick background on us. So Ben and I were actually best friends from college. We went to Ohio State, met freshman year. We're the two kids since freshman year, always trying to talk about, how do we create some type of business together? We talked earlier, how we're not fans of the corporate world. So we were trying everything in our power to figure something out. So we didn't have to enter it. But best friends since freshman year. Ben grew up, struggling with his acne. Ben and I, both guys, didn't really have a big skincare routine growing up. It's just starting to blow up, but we didn't have a big skincare routine. I eventually, was diagnosed with a form of eczema that I got while I was playing football at Ohio State freshman year. And, initially tried to go to my mom and sister, hey, how do I handle this? I don't know how to handle these red flare-ups. And it got so bad, you ended up having to see a dermatologist. And Ben and I have been seeing a derm for over 10 years now. And, we ended up, leaving college and working a medical sales job at the same company. And we're still trying to figure out how do we get out of this corporate world. And COVID hit, and I ended up taking some course on how to start an e-com business. And, we kind of came to the realization that we both had our skincare struggles. It really affected our confidence. Something that, men aren't used to. Skincare is not, that big for men right now, and we don't really know what we're doing. And we're like, hey, there's not really a brand out there. We've been going to derm for 10 years that really spoke to us individually, like who our persona is, an active male, that kind of lifestyle, wanting to be the best version of yourself. You go down the aisle and there's a million different products for women. But there was nothing that really spoke to us individually, but also had the quality that our dermatologists would recommend. Ben has sensitive skin, I have eczema. We would bring the current brands out there that were more male focused, and our derms would be like, I'm not letting you put this on your face. And we're like, hey, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something that, creating a brand that really resonated with our demographic. And so we kind of went down this, process 3 years ago. How do we create that brand that spoke to us as consumers. Skincare at the end of the day is gender neutral, but guys are different consumers than women. We don't want the 10-step skincare routine. We want a brand that represents us. We want high quality performing skincare. So the right ingredients that the clinical community would back. And then texture was like a big thing as well. Guys don't want to, seem like they're wearing a mask on their face every day. Yeah. So, how do we kind of come together and create this product? What we say is or this brand that's like the Nike of skincare. They sell shoes, but they're more than that. We really want to, put skincare in a medium that guys understand and really, at the end of the day, we talk about we're selling confidence, not skincare. So it's been a long journey to get to this point, and we're happy to dive into kind of how we got here. I'm thankful for Ben for sure. We're both have similar, they always say like work with somebody that is a complete opposite brand of you. Like we think differently. We have a lot of the same interests, but we think differently, and how we come to the answer is different. So I think that's why we work really well together, and can't imagine starting a business by myself. So it's been a fun ride, let alone do it with one of your best friends.
Yeah, I love that. So many great things. I mean, Lygia and I, we're business partners as well as partners. And a lot of what you said resonates.
A lot of people think we are as well. So we have to clarify that.
Yeah, we'll just clarify that out of the gates here. Only business partners. All right. We'll put that in the show notes as well. No, but we complement each other in many ways, but we also have different skill sets that really help us be better together. So that really resonates. And I also couldn't, I think it's really hard as an individual to have the motivation all the time and even be able to brainstorm things and do that just on your own. I mean, that's a really daunting task to think about starting something on your own, and especially like a product where you're developing. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but yeah, that's pretty cool. What were you guys going to school for? Were you both like business majors or? Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Kevin went for football. I actually, at the time I had a super inflated sense of where I was going to go in life. Really wanted to do like the consulting route. I actually got declined from Ohio State's finance major 3 separate times. I ended up with a C+ in accounting. But I ended up doing real estate and urban analysis. Haven't used it yet, but I think going to business school does help with a lot of the stuff that, now that we are managing our books and stuff like that, it's all of a sudden you start remembering cash flow concepts and certain things like that. I was sleeping through most of the classes. I think obviously neither of us were really the excellent students. I think we're the poster children for C's get degrees.
It's funny. That's why I say I'm fortunate for Ben. Like I always use the analogy is like, because like he talked about like the design and everything, and like his aspect, like running the business operations, like wouldn't be able to do with him. There's, you think of like a sports car, right? And everyone wants to drive the sports car because it looks nice, but under the engine, if it can't drive well, then nobody's going to buy it. So that's kind of where we mesh together. And yeah, C's get degrees. Like I think the education system's changing a little bit. I'd hope that, maybe there'd be a little more entrepreneur type classes and degrees out there, because I think that's definitely something that would have really jived with us.
Yeah, I have a nephew who's taking, he's in high school. He's a senior this year, and he's taken a couple of semesters of entrepreneurship, which is amazing. There was nothing like that when I went through school. Yeah. But for sure, I think education system is awesome for certain things. I've got an MBA. I mean, I value my education, but, when I was 20 going pre-med, which I also didn't end up, going down that route, but yeah, I had no idea really. I always envied the people that I felt like did, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be this and I'm going for this. And they were so driven. And I was like, I have no idea what the heck I want to do. So
I always say I was pre-med until high school chemistry. My dad was a physician and then took that. And I was like, this is not for me. But yeah, I think that's a gist of anyone like you guys starting your own thing. Kevin and I starting our own thing is every system, every institution that's there, it's there for a reason, and people are going to play in it to the extent that is most beneficial for them. I think we're just really thankful that, we worked our asses off working for the same company to get to a point where we could do something on our own. And some people really come into themselves and flourish when they do things the non-traditional way. Some people flourish in the traditional way, like just making sure that there's access to all the different options. And we're really passionate about helping anyone who has that same itch to do what we're doing. Like we always love talking to people and saying like, hey, if we're the classic, like if we can do it, trust me, man, you guys can do it. You can find a way to figure it out. But two brains are definitely better than one. That's for sure, especially in our case.
So let's kind of take it from the starting point. You guys, and I agree with you. Unless you've actively had an intervention through Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, you don't have a skincare routine as a guy. But how did you go from kind of you saw a need, you both had a personal need. What made you decide? I mean, I have those kind of thoughts all the time, like, oh, I wish there was something for this or that, or this doesn't work the way I want it to. I mean, was there something that tweaked you guys that really said, let's try this out, let's do it, and we think we can give this a go? Or how was that, from a creative spark through just the decision to do something? Was there something tangible there?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier, like, so I took this course online to like how to kind of build and conceptualize like an e-commerce brand.
Right.
This was during COVID. We all left Los Angeles, everything shut down. We went home. We were there for a couple months, and we were really playing with ideas. I mean, me and Ben have come up with so many, but this was like the first one that both of us had really struggled in our life. So, like most founders, we really struggled with it. Hurt our self-confidence, and it just seemed like kind of lucky in the sense of like the perfect storm. Like, we've been going to derms for over 10 years, but it was kind of not frowned upon, but like 10 years ago, like it's kind of why we came up with the name Pretty Boy. What used to be a negative connotation is kind of a feel for our brand. Like, everyone's working out, eating healthy, trying to become the best version of yourself. And we're like, maybe there's something there, because like we're going to the derm and we still hated the products we were using. They were very clinical, like branded, very thick. We didn't want these 10-step routines. It was just like, there was nothing simple, nothing that we loved to wear, and nothing that kind of resembled us as consumers. And so kind of once we landed on that, and it happened to both be an issue for both of us, and we're both passionate about it, we're like, there's got to be something here. Because I mean, we were, and we could talk about, did all like the research and everything, but we're just like, there wasn't this brand that was meeting our need. And we're like, hey, maybe this is the idea. Maybe we try to figure out if we can actually do this thing. And it's definitely a lot harder than the first time we thought about, let's go off and do this and formulate a product, but we got there eventually.
And I think to that point, like it even just like the kind of the sniff test for whether your idea has any legs to stand on is like, well, first, like us two bozos get in the room and we're like, oh, like eczema? He's like, yeah, I got it. Like, none of these products are good. I hate the big bulky Cetaphil bottle that's sitting on my thing. He hates putting his steroids on. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't really use any skincare. I kind of just like I don't see what the real benefit is. I used to deal with all these harsh prescriptions, whatever, but like now I'm kind of okay. And we kind of played with what he was just saying. And then like, just go ask a couple friends. And like all of a sudden you ask 5 friends, it's like, hey, do you use a skincare routine? They're like, no. And it's like, why? And they give you one of X 5 answers you hear from everyone, whether it's, gender stereotypes or don't see the benefit, don't understand what it does. And then you go to 5 more friends. And like, we kind of just kept doing that for a couple of weeks. And it's like, wow, like there's definitely this. Then you do the actual analysis and it's a massive market. The men's market is half of the women's market. Basically like 18 to like 9 billion roughly for each, and across all of skincare. And then you're like, okay, and what are the things that guys really, really need to use? And we just kind of kept backtracking in. I think Kevin, like he's a phenomenal example of how you work like this. Like he sets the end point and then just starts to work back from it. And like, that's just what we were doing. It's like, well, let's find what that end point would be. And that kind of leads into some of the formulation stuff where we just like led to, once we validated, okay, guys are open to it. They're not super brand loyal to any male product. A lot are using big retail products. Can we do everything Kevin said, put this unique spin on it, blending the clinical superiority and authoritative approach of the science brands with a very fun, engaging, aspirational, inspirational lifestyle brand? And we just went to some dermatologists and chemists and we were like, here's the claims we want to make with confidence. Like, we don't want to bullshit our customers. So these are the claims we care about because that's what guys care about. We want it to feel like this. And we want it to be in one product. People wanted like simplicity and stuff. And they were like, yeah, like if you're willing to pay for the right ingredients and you're willing to actually make a product, you're not going to make something cheap. You're going to make something that's really quality. Yes, you can do it. And I think like that for us has just been, you said, like your question was like, when did you guys really know it was an idea? Like, for us, like Kevin said, we've had so many of these ideas over time that the next step is like just starting to validate what's really possible. And once you know something's possible, then you just start filling in the pieces. And we're so customer obsessed. And like, I don't want to say data obsessed because neither of us are great analysts, but when there's good data presented to us, we're like, oh, like follow the opportunity, follow the data, follow what people are saying. And if you're obsessed about those things, like a lot of your problems get filled in by your support structure, the community, your customers. I've always said this about like starting a restaurant. I think my reason why I think so many restaurants fail is like a lot of these guys go in and go, this is the concept. I want to live out my dream. And they just go full tilt on that. And it's like, you've got to allow your dream to be influenced by the people who are benefiting from it. And we know our vision and our dream, but we want everyone to be a part of it. So we love feedback. We like getting insight from people that can help us make these important decisions.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
That is. Do you mind elaborating a little bit on that process? Just when we all want to make money, and it sounds so amazing to come up with a product. But how's the process? Did you guys have to obtain a patent for your product, and how was the process of coming? Basically coming with
finding dermatologist or a chemist or different people to mix up your vision.
Right.
Yeah, it's the most excruciatingly painful part of the process for sure. We've never ever considered quitting, but I will say on like month 5 of sourcing labs who were delivering like terrible samples, you were starting to go like, is this possible?
Yes.
What I'll say is that in this industry and many other industries, which I was mind blown by when Kevin shared this from his class, like there are experts that if you have a vision and you have like clear cut direction instructions, like they can fill in the technical gaps. And so for us, it was what we said. I mean, I think to streamline the answer to the question, basically it was, what's the idea? What do people care about? So we launched like a really big survey before doing any of this stuff that just went out to about 300 people. We knew what they cared about. We knew the concerns they cared about. We knew the things they wanted from texture. We knew they wanted simplicity, so they didn't want to use a bunch of different products. Take all that, go to this expert. We happen to fortunately be Kevin's girlfriend's boss was involved in a company that they used a great manufacturer. She introduced us. Like that's where we got over that hump of all these bad manufacturers. But once you get to that point, like if you go in with a brief and you're like, this is what we wanted to do. These are ingredients we like. We want to be, accepted by the National Eczema Association. That was a very big goal for us. Kevin if he can't use the product, we've got nothing. There's no story there. You give them all the directives and then they have people who can help fill in those gaps. So for us, it was like, once you find the right partner and once you've done the due diligence and what you needed, the process then from there actually became like substantially easier. No, like don't have to have a patent. You're just, you have the IP of what you do. But because it's very hard to patent something like that in skincare, because like they are all using the same ingredients, same formulations to an extent. It's just, what's at this concentration? Are you removing this? How do you want it to look, feel, whatever? And so, yeah, that was.
I mean, I think like a big takeaway there too is like, well, one, just getting like people listening, like getting into this business, you just got to be willing to kind of grind it out. Like we knew nothing about skincare getting it, even though we've been going to derm for so long, like manufacturing, like we were just on Google calling people, which was horrible. We're like, how are we going to be able to trust these people? We were calling China, like, and fortunately, after enough effort, we got lucky. But you got to keep putting yourself out there to get lucky. And then like another big thing too, is just like Ben talked about like the restaurant and everything, like, why most business or restaurants fail. Like, we took the approach, and we always advise this when people ask. A lot of people start their brand, whether it's a restaurant or, whatever business, and the vision that they have. Like the way we started this was like, we didn't start by having the brand. We started by sourcing everything our customer wants out of a skincare product, and then built the brand off that and built the product off that. Here's your top concerns. Here's how many products you're willing to use. Like, here's the texture. Like, what do you love and hate? And then from there, we're able to then take it to the, our dermatologists, who are willing to help and, just give their feedback and how do we formulate a product? Is this doable? And I think just like his point about the restaurant, it's a great analogy, and, it makes sense on why business fail. If you're not customer obsessed and you're not putting a product out there that your customer base wants to use, then, nobody's going to buy it. But you got to be willing to grind and, be willing to ask anybody. The entrepreneurial community is very willing to help. Everybody's been in this situation. So don't be afraid to ask for help, because maybe that person knows somebody and they might know somebody else. And that's how you get connected with, the manufacturers or, marketing, whatever, when you need help, like somebody's always willing to provide, their experience.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
and I think also to have the customer satisfaction in mind at all times. I think my idea about the restaurants is that they cut corners and they start strong with amazing, wonderful ingredients, and then they cut corners and they use the cheapest ingredients, and the customers are not satisfied. But
My mom beat it into my head when I was a little kid. Like, truly, it's impressive. Shout out, Mom, if she ends up listening to this. It was always just like, the customer's always right. I've seen her. My mom is a very peaceful, kind, gentle-hearted woman, and I've heard her on customer service lines, and she draws like a very hard line in the ground of like, if you're not treating me right, it's like, it's very obvious what to do to make people feel valued, to listen to their feedback. The way we approach customer service is that the customer's always right. And so, yeah, I agree with you, Ligia. I think what Chris said, or what Kevin said, great point. Like, you got to be confident, and we are clearly, and we, like he said, we sell confidence, but you've got to have humility. And for us, like, we quite literally go in every conversation, trying to be the dumbest person in the room, because we don't have it all figured out. So the only way we're going to succeed is by having people who've done it better than us, before us, help us. And so far, we continue to advance. We're like talking to people like you, like we always learn something new. And so I think there's a humility that goes into the business that we hope people kind of sense from us, not only in speaking with us, but through the content we produce and the messaging we use and engage.
Yeah, big difference in confidence and arrogance. Yeah, if you're not, if you think you know it all, you'll quickly fail, most likely. Your story reminds me. I'm not familiar. I'm not certain if you're familiar with Sarah Blakely and Spanx and that whole story there, but yeah, I mean, it sounds very similar in just having the vision and then just going out and finding the people that can execute, and bracing for being laughed at or being scoffed at or whatever, until you find that right partner or someone that says, hey, I can do this for you, and let's go do it.
how long did it take you from the moment the idea was born to actually have a product out there to sell? What was the time frame?
2 years, Ben?
2 years?
Yeah, we launched. Yeah, just about 2 years. So
Mhm.
a lot longer than we anticipated, that's for sure. But
Always.
It's very fascinating to me, because that shows so much grit, and that shows so much persistence and consistency. Because, as I said, I think many of us, we dream to make money, and we want to make money quickly, and but we kind of forget to talk about that aspect of things. It takes time, and it takes a lot of grit and a lot of amazing mindset to move forward.
yeah, we got to, and we appreciate that. We always tell ourselves to do a better job at like kind of taking a step back sometimes. I think when everybody's trying to start their business and make it, they're go, go, go. But sometimes you got to take a step back at looking what you've accomplished. And it is crazy to think about. Like, I mean, I don't know what the number is. It's like 95% of people don't bring products to market. So, like we're excited we were able to do it. But yeah, to your point, like, yeah, it's good sometimes to reflect on like, wow, all right, you have done this, you have, put a product out there, and because, you get in the weeds some days, things are not going right, and you're just like, am I doing the right thing? Is this working? Like, the typical stuff you hear from, starting a business.
Yeah, that's a big takeaway. I mean, we're in several entrepreneurial coaching groups and masterminds, and have been through some. There's a good book that Lidge and I both just read. I'm not sure if you guys are kind of readers in that way, but it's a book called The Gap and the Gain. And it's essentially this exact concept of, as entrepreneurs and business people, we're constantly measuring ourselves against where we want to be, which creates this gap mentality. Like, hey, I haven't quite gotten there. I haven't quite gotten there. I haven't quite gotten there. Instead of, like you said, taking a moment to stop, turn around and go, oh my gosh, look how far we've come, or look what we did, and taking those celebrations, whether they're big or small. But that can build a,
Every couple months, one of us texts the other one, is like, we should hold on, like, let's take a second here and just realize what we've done. And I mean, that we ended last year at 187,000 in revenue from like April to through the end of the year, and that was our first year in business. And this year, we're pacing right, probably just like a hair under 1 million. And so, like, for us now, again, the book I just read, Simple Profits, Big Number, it's a great book if you ever want to read it. I think what we're starting to transition to is like top line in our business really doesn't matter too much. The sexiest growth in the world sounds really cool, but if you're not able to do the other things you need with that, take home a profit, pay yourselves and stuff like that. But I think, to us, we've seen the fruits of our labor come, and we just had this conversation this week, which is like, we've proven everything we need to prove to ourselves at this point, that we could do this. I think we both still have goals that are unmet, you could say, but like we've proven a lot to ourselves and to each other. And so now like a big focus for us is further delegating, like saying we took it to this point, like now it's time to go and fill those gaps with people who have done what we're doing or who have worked on the projects we're doing at bigger scale, gotten people out of some of the challenges that we deal with on a daily basis. And take that time, like you guys said, sit there, celebrate. We got really, really far. The product's amazing. Our customers love it and stuff like that. And say, well, okay, so now it's like, how do you take it from hobby-esque mentality to like, this is a really real thing and a big thing. And that's kind of what we're working on right now.
That's fantastic.
So you guys came up with an idea. You spent some time doing your homework, did some market research, went out, formulated your product. What about the rest of the production process? So assuming there was some packaging and branding activities that had to happen, and then probably the meat of your course, Kevin, where you look at, okay, how are we going to deliver this to customers? Was there, what kind of thought went into that aspect of things where, obviously it sounds like you guys went through the approach of starting your own website and kind of doing direct to customer. I don't know if you do any B2C type or a B2B type fulfillment either, using other people's retail stores, but maybe that's part of the vision.
Yeah, like a couple. I mean, we are on Revolve, which is like one of the largest like women's like kind of high fashion sites.
Okay.
That's just straight e-com. We're starting to build out some B2B. We are on Amazon, but with one product right now, we're still kind of testing it out. But as far as like the kind of design and everything, I mean, it's been a learning process and a growing process, and we're getting. It's not where we want it to be for sure, but I mean, I'd say Ben and I are both perfectionists. But as far as like the design and kind of everything, I think we kind of just went off, what we love. We looked at the brands that we love. Like we love doing the kind of copycat type thing. Hey, what's worked here? What do we love? We didn't really see the kind of lifestyle kind of design really applied to men's skincare as far as like the high quality look, the simplicity, but still have, that quality skincare. A lot of times they didn't go hand in hand, and we kind of wanted to be this like clinically lifestyle brand. And like we said, the Nike of skincare. So we look at a lot of the brands that we've loved growing up for our demographic as inspiration. And honestly, like a lot of brands outside of skincare, like what brands have been successful that we really resonate with, and how can we learn from them and kind of bring that into our brand and kind of form it to what works for us. The name too, pretty like it wasn't, we had some kind of horrible name prior to this, and thankfully I think it was Ben's mom, his loving mom that he talked about earlier, made some comment like, hey, maybe we need to switch this. We got to, we're still getting better at like trying to speak differently in our tone, make it more relatable, and kind of do things just differently. And we wanted a name that kind of did that. Kind of one of those things where you stop and kind of look like, a name's everything for a brand. So came up with Pretty Boy. Like my football coach used to call me a pretty boy for one, wear the visor and helmet and look good. But the look good, feel good, play good thing. We're all pretty boys now. And we're like, hey, maybe there's something here. And why don't we, instead of just being a generic logo and a generic name, like why don't we try to kind of take on, this is a growing industry that's still a little underserved, and guys are still a little hesitant to join the skincare movement. So why don't we kind of take on a negative kind of connotation and really use that for the fuel for our brand. So it's worked out. So surprisingly, like a lot more people have been resonating with it, which has been awesome. We weren't sure.
How are you going about marketing? Are you kind of hitting you mentioned demographics earlier. Who is your ideal demographic or demographics beyond just men? Are you kind of hitting college age?
Yeah, well, so like interesting enough, like, and we just launched this like large survey to our customers. We're trying to hone in now on who our exact demographic is. And Ben put this awesome survey out there that, surprisingly enough, we're finding that like we thought it would be between the 25 and 35, like skincare. Yeah, maybe, you're young, you don't think you need it, but you kind of need some money to, it's kind of an extra, another purchase that you'd want to,
Sure.
that maybe people won't get if they, are new to the professional world or don't have the money. But surprisingly, it's been we learned 35 to 50 or 60 is like the bulk of our customers. So it's actually an older population, which has been new. So we're still honing in on marketing, and you play on all the channels of like the Facebook, but that's one of our big missions kind of starting now and towards the next year of really, like Ben said, hone in on profitability and, first time, try to be first order profitable, but really improve kind of our messaging and, where we're getting our customers and speaking to our customers now that we know they're kind of on the older end.
One of the things that I really, really loved when I was visiting your website is that you guys put a lot of emphasis on the ingredients, and you list all the ingredients that the moisturizers contains. And I think that's fantastic. I don't really see that on any skin. I mean, there is like a small fine print on the packages of the skincare products, but I was very impressed with that and very surprised. And I also was very impressed with the prices. Like your prices are extremely affordable for the quality that you offer.
Yeah, it's it's funny. I wish we had more. If you guys have any ideas, please let us know. I wish we had some way of getting that female focused messaging, because most women see product, like women look at our product and go, wait, you're telling me I can get a product with these ingredients at these concentrations at that price? I think that for a lot of guys, again, because they're newer to this and because cheaper options exist, you're kind of constantly fighting that battle of like, we know the product, honestly, the product is probably worth, if not definitive, is worth more than we sell it at, but you have to play within what the competitive pricing matrix is and make yourself accessible.
Yes.
But the quality is, as you just said, it's very much there. So that's something we're kind of always going with. And to the point about ingredients, like, again, it just started with this really simple question of like, how do we make these claims? These are the ones that are most important. How do we make it feel this way? That's kind of the driving force behind that. And I don't know if you had time to check it out. Anyone who listens, like, we love if you nerd out about this stuff, go check it out. In the middle of our homepage, there's the eczema section, and there's a white paper that we did. One of the things, and it goes back to that survey on emphasis on product quality. One of these things that we did that I think we're really proud of, because again, it's like, your idea is good and you have trust in it, and the dermatologists say this and this, but you got to really like validate that. As we ran basically two separate 50 AAD board certified dermatologist blind studies, two separate groups. One of them put us against like Olay, Neutrogena, Cetaphil, CeraVe. The other was some of these male focused brands. And we basically just said, like, which are you? All they did was they looked at all the ingredient lists. We copied them off of everyone's websites, exactly how they list them. We listed ours. We didn't even list the concentrations, which is very important to a dermatologist. Just put them all in the list that they're shown on the website, and said, like, which would you prefer, recommend to a male patient who wanted to target, these concerns? And it was things like aging, dry skin, like irritation, redness, stuff like that. And you'll go check it out. And like, we blew everyone out of the water. And so ingredients are a very important part to us. And that's why, Kevin's used a couple analogies as well. Like, what we've been saying is, like, at the end of the day, the people who come to our website and interact with our brand experience need to understand that we're speaking authoritatively because we can. Like, we've done the legwork. We've done everything needed to really show the emphasis on quality and what we're doing differently. But they need to come and like feel that immediately. Well, then to us, what is right now is the most important thing is like really elevate that brand experience and make people see this brand as something like, that's a community I want to be a part of. Like, it's a moisturizer. I know what it's going to do. I believe it's better. You made that very clear because of these reasons, ingredients being one of them. But now it's about, how do we get this conversation we're having, that story we're telling you out to these people who kind of really understand, like, well, it's not just about skincare, or it's not just about what my interests are. It's everything combined in one. And that's the way brands are going now and need to go to sustain in this market and what you're seeing across the industry. And so we're just trying to tackle each different kind of piece of that one by one and pull it all together.
You also are going to attract your own tribe. If people are going to look just for cheap skincare, they're going to go somewhere else. But if people, like you said, there is on the website that the ingredients that you put on your skin are as important as the ingredients that you put inside your body, then you're going to attract that tribe. That message is going to be very important to them.
100%.
No, and I think too, just like with that, it's, we're fortunate, like we're still, every day learning marketing and, figuring that out, and it's getting better each day. But, you see the brands that, the brands will go viral. They have unreal branding, but at the end of the day, what keeps them around is a product. And I'd rather be in the inverse of having an amazing product that people love to use and will continue to come back for. And, the virality and all that, they'll come. We'll learn as we go, or, we're getting better every day, speaking the language that our customers, jive with. But, fortunate, I mean, we talk a lot about luck, that's kind of the approach we took. And, we're growing each day. So it's been fun.
You touched on a little bit ago your vision and your future roadmap, and bringing in leveraging a team, right? People that know a bit about the areas where you want to expand. What is the vision for you guys? Where are you looking to go in kind of the short and midterm? Is it just get more traction with your current product, or do you have some other products in the pipeline, whether that's just in your mind or actually in development, or kind of what are you looking to do with the brand?
Yeah. So right now for, we have short-term vision is, we do have other products in development. We have one that will be launching in April. The goal is to come out with just like the basic, routine any man will need. And then from there, like we've said from day one, less is more. So we're not going to be the brand that has 5 million different SKUs. That's what kind of deterred us from skincare and the brands we were currently or like using before. So I think once we come out with, the basic necessities and keep that less is more approach, we're really just going to continue to work with our community and customers to dictate the kind of products that we want to come out and they want to see and they want to use.
I think that we touched on it earlier, and this is where, again, we haven't really talked much about some of that, like the operations component, but we are bootstrapped. I'm sure even just in you guys telling us your story, like, what that's like, especially in real estate and what you guys do. And what I was really interested to ask Ray some questions about kind of that model. But I think that for us right now, it's the vision, releasing those products, like you said, creating the brand experience we've talked about. It's also starting to really hone in on what it's going to take to scale in the way that we need to. And so we're constrained by a choice we made, but that choice that we made has also been like our biggest blessing. So by going bootstrapped route, like Kevin's like, we're impatient. We want it all to come together, but we've got like this foundation built, and like we're figuring out the things that we need to change moving into the future. So like once the scaling opportunities come, like for us right now, it's about scaling, and it's about scaling profitably. But once you start opening up the doors and you have different product lines that come in, and when and if that time ever comes where either there's outside investment or it's just reached that tipping point where you can really start funding the acquisition in a more higher velocity. Like right now, it's really about blowing this up, and we talked about that lion's share, like the type of people we are and the goals we have for ourselves in our personal lives in the business is like, we're not here to just be we're not here to just be one more brand, one more Instagram brand. Like we set the ingredient philosophy based on what is the total market. And if we go after the big guys, how do we do versus if we just, become one of these other people that are in the ecosystem. We set the SKU philosophy, like Kevin just said, like less is more, of like, we don't want to be, have a 10th or a quarter or % of market share for every single skincare product aisle that Lygia, you're probably very familiar with, your toners, your serums, your this, and this, and this, and this. For us, it's like, no, like, let's get that foundation right. We believe in our philosophy. We believe in the ingredient philosophy. We believe in our story enough that like, we can go and take over, and we can be the brand prototype for what men's brands can do in this space and in this industry. And it also helps you keep some of that outside noise out, even to the point of like venture capital and stuff. Like if you're really just so rock solidly set on that vision and you're doing the things right now, even though it's a little slower, it's less sexy at times, that's where we want to go. We want to be, we always say it, it's like pretty boy on every man's countertop. we believe that's possible if we just stay like super, super linearly focused on like all the things we're talking about and don't let some of that outside noise creep in, and those things can derail you. We talk about this all the time. Like, dude, we just got to focus. We know what our problem is. Like, focus on the problem. Some of it's just noise. We got to get it out of our heads. And we thankfully have each other to act as, pseudo therapists, because we both need one full time and just can't afford that anyway. So we play that role for each other.
I had a question earlier. Do you think Pretty Girl will ever be born? I really.
I think that it's an interesting question. We'd love your take. I think what we did, again, was take this industry that catered towards females so much and went this guy route. I think it's a very interesting concept. It's something we would never shut down or say is 100% the way that's going to go. We're going to, as we've said, like, let our customers dictate that. We have a lot of women who use the product already. I'm sure more would use it if they were getting more direct branding. It's going to be about, can we maintain our values and everything in the way that we would do it. I also think it begs a different question, which is just like, with the Pretty Boy name and branding and community we're setting up, is like, we always say, like, we don't care what you are. Like, we don't care what subs that you fall into. We don't care how you identify. Like, and we don't care who you are, other than like, do you buy into the characteristics of being a pretty boy? Obviously, I can see how in the same way guys don't want to use certain girls' brands and vice versa, that'll happen that way. Like, what we're trying to do is create that prototype for a lifestyle. Do you get 1% better every day? Do you prioritize doing things right the first time? Like, do you practice what you preach? And so for us, I mean, it's a great question. We get asked it frequently enough that, I think it's definitely something that's exciting to think about. But
yeah, I think you'd have to think about, how do you play in the space? on the guy's side of things, you've found an opening, and you found a way that you can be unique and really add value. I mean, I can remember in high school as a teenager playing football with, just acne around my chin strap where all the sweat and everything accumulates, and then the different oils and all that stuff. So I never had a product. I never looked for a product other than, your basic soaps, like your Neutrogenas or whatever was around at the time. So I think, and with eczema, I don't really know the statistics there, but there's a great market to play in there. So I think those are great things. Yeah. To flip it on the female side of the equation would be an interesting challenge, just because, as you said, there are so many products and brands, and I'm sure the investment and just the amount of money and research and development, all that stuff on that side, it could be an overwhelming category to try to get into, unless you found something that really worked, or as you're doing on the guy's side, where if you're using natural products or really good things. But even in there, I think there's some other brands that are kind of trying to do a similar thing. But yeah,
well, I think too, like, I think too is like the IP for us, like Ben always talks about, like, I mean, it's the approach that we're taking to skincare with the less is more, and the quality of the ingredients, and at the right active levels that actually showcase, benefits based on science. Like, I think that's starting to become more mainstream. You're seeing it more in female brands now. Like, oh, we don't maybe need 10 products. Girls, we're seeing they don't want 10 products. So I think it's an interesting concept. I always say, like, you got the hims and the hers, like every Uber needs a lift. So, they all need better. So maybe down the road, who knows? But the biggest goal is to blow this thing up as big as possible before we take on something else like that.
Sure. Yeah. First things first. I love it. Yeah. Definitely a great approach.
And it's all about being authentic. So, like, if we can authentically buy into it, and we're like, yeah, we know exactly why we're doing this, but like, if it's just for money to toss another brand out there, like those type of things fail all the time. We've seen it with celebrities. We see it with businesses. So, like, for us, we're super focused. We want to stay authentic. We want to stay transparent, but it's always an interesting question. We get asked it plenty.
Let's kind of circle this around to the audience a bit. So maybe a listener out there has a bug to create a product or do something. What are some of your key takeaways in your journey? I know you've mentioned a few that I've captured notes on, but like maybe 2 or 3 fundamental things that you would recommend for somebody that has a bug, to, if anything come to mind.
Yeah. On my end, it's a couple things. One, doing the groundwork ahead of time is going to save you like a hell of a world of problems. So like we did a ton of research, a ton of customer data. Number two is be so customer obsessed, which I think kind of we highlighted. Number three is when you get stuck, like we had to tell ourselves this so many different times early on, like just all we got to do is get like 1% better, like get to the next day. Like what's the one thing you can check off of your list of things to do, just so you like advance. And, I think when you add all those three things up, you come up with the sum that's just like, don't ever be scared to take an idea, but like, don't just act with blind, like don't act with blind faith. You can, but like, just like, if you have the idea, like do the work to validate it. It can be that, between you and your partner, and then the +5 circle of friends and +5 until you validate it enough that you're like, once you hit a certain number, you're like, okay, it's clearly a thing. Now I just got to go see if it can scale. Your customers are your lifeline. So like, don't act in blind faith, and don't ever forget that, you two people can't actually make $1 trillion company on your own, because unless you are a trillionaire, like you're going to have people buy it. So be customer obsessed, never get rid of the humility needed to just like make sure that you're being very conscious and hypersensitive to what people want. And if you just take the next step, always, like you're going to finally get somewhere. Who knows how big it can get, who knows what the end result is, whether you get acquired, whether it just is a hobby. But I think the biggest thing for his, and this is like Kevin's influenced me in this greatly as a friend and as a business partner, is like, just take the leap. And so that was a big thing for us, was like, who knows if we were really ready or not, but thankfully he took that class and he was ready to go. And I was like, well, I'm not missing out on this. And, it's just like, be comfortable and be very comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Love it. Kevin, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, he hit on a lot of points that we love to talk about, and we've just learned over the few years. But I mean, I think that one of the biggest things, like, if you can't do it alone, sure, but like try to find a business partner. It's hard as hell to do this by yourself. So find somebody that is just as passionate as you, because it takes a lot to get this thing off the ground. And that you see people that are successful, but a lot of time they do it on their own, but a lot of times they end up bringing people in pretty early. I think if you can find somebody with different skill sets that has the same belief, that'll make your job so much easier. And then I think a lot of things that I've learned too, I mean, Ben and I are both perfectionists, but not everything has to be perfect. Obviously go into it, like Ben said, with not blinders on, but don't be afraid to fail, or not everything has to be perfect. So much stuff has changed since we started this thing. So you just got to move forward. Ben says it all the time. Just, take one step forward every day. Sometimes the most stress comes from just not taking any action. So be willing to take action. And yeah, I think those are what Ben said. And then, following up on that, I think those are some good takeaways that we've just learned. And don't be afraid to quit learning too. You're always going to learn.
Yeah.
Oh, and one more too, like people that are listening, like it's scary to, start your own business, but it's never been more accessible to start your business today. In today's world,
all the time. Yeah.
Shopify is cheap. You can create a website. They have a million templates, all the AI stuff that's out now. It's never been more accessible and easy to start your business with how automated everything is compared to what it used to be. Even just 2 years ago when we started.
100% agree. That's never been a better time than now to give something a try, whether a side hustle or a full-time thing.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I know you're both busy. Just kind of to wrap things up, for people looking to get more information on your product and or get in touch with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
Yeah, you can check us out at prettyboy.com. The same as our Instagram, but yeah, go on our website. You'll see the support email there. Hit us up in the DMs on social media. We always love talking to new people and customers. Yeah, that'll probably be the best way to find us.
That's great. Well, Kevin, Ben, really appreciate your time and love what you're doing, and all the best to you guys in the near term. And we'll be in touch in the future if we need anything there.
And congratulations to you both for what you've accomplished. I mean, it's so inspiring. Mike and I, we are in our 50s, and we say all the time, we wished we started earlier. So what an inspiration you guys are for young people to start this adventure earlier, because you have a lifetime.
Hey, it's never too late, though. You guys have proven that, though.
Oh, yeah. We love it. So
Yes.
again, thanks, and all the best to you guys. Take care.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
For those of you joining us today, we hope you enjoyed this time in the Champions Corner as much as we did. Got some awesome takeaways, and most importantly, will take action to continue living your best life and maximizing your potential. Mindset is such an important aspect of life, and when coupled with action, delivers undeniably powerful results.
Please subscribe to the podcast to hear from more great guests and get the latest mindset mastery insights and cash flow matchups.
Again, thank you so much for investing your time with us, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the Cash Flow Fight Club podcast.